All right. So there's a rumor going around that the Canadian Elite Basketball League could be moving to Kelowna. It would be great for the league. The Canadian Elite Basketball League, for those who don't know, they play all their games in their summer, so you don't have to compete with other leagues or other sports in the area. They play mostly in the summer, mostly on weekend games. They price themselves as a family-friendly event. They already have 9 teams in the league. Last year they added, and this year they've already added a team in Ottawa. This will be the 9th team in the league if it's approved. It's a summer league. They mostly use, not mostly, most of their players that play basketball for them, I can't talk right now. 70% of the league has to be Canadian. And a certain percentage of those have to be in the field at all times. They do some really interesting things. For instance, they do draft players right out of U Sports, and they give them money towards their scholarship. They are looking at the Kelowna market as a potential expansion franchise. It's going to be great, as there's already a team in Fraser Valley, the Fraser Valley Bandits, and Kelowna is only about a day trip away. Potentially, I'm assuming they would use the same arena as the Kelowna Rockets of the WHL use, but I could be wrong. This also was another great opportunity for Canadians to play in the summer instead of getting another job. A lot of Canadians, or just talent in general, who play professional basketball in a smaller league than the NBA, end up having to supplement their income in the summer, and instead of doing a job delivering pizzas or doing drywall or some trade where you can just go on the summer and just leave, they end up playing basketball, and it works out really well for them. They're well taken care of. There's been a couple of guys who play on the St. John's Edge. Shewswit played some pretty good minutes. Junior Kadukin just won a championship last year with the Edmonton Stingers. Before that, Randy Glaze was playing as well for a little while, so there is some good basketball. It does have a deal with New Balance, and games are showed on CBC Gem, so there's exposure there right already. And the U Sports thing doesn't hurt. It gives, just imagine how good you could be. Not a lot of pro players come out of U Sports, unfortunately, but it could be that thing from a 15-year-old going to the States or staying in Canada, and just imagine how good you'll be after 3 or 4 years of being around pros every day, even if you don't play. Look how better off you'll be just from a basketball standpoint, as a personal standpoint. If you're 17 or 18 and you get to be around, pros who've been doing it for 5 or 6 years, there's a lot you can learn in college about learning how to, play basketball and prepare yourself game day. But at a pro level, it's a totally different thing. And then you can learn from scouts. Say you have a guy who normally goes over to Europe and plays in the winter. Actually, last year, for a better example of this, would be last year, the Niagara River Lions, I believe, or Hamilton Honey Badgers, got Philip and Thomas Scrub, at their big Canadian basketball stars. They play overseas more often than not, and decided to have them come back and play in front of their hometown fans for a little while. Now, obviously, last year it didn't happen. All the games were in a centralized location, I believe in St. Catharines, Ontario. So they did that, and games were broadcast on CBC. Now, CBC isn't the biggest station here in Canada, but it gets that little bit of exposure to players. Maybe they could parlay that and use it for a bigger career option. It might help the basketball players who just got out of high school and maybe aren't quite good enough right now to play in the NCAA, or maybe they have family obligations that they can't go to the NCAA and play. All right? So they just end up going to Canada, or they may pick up basketball late and need a little bit of extra seasoning. Lots of reasons why someone will go to U Sports instead of the NCAA. Just gives them a chance to still play professional, still earn a paycheck, and maybe eventually go to Europe or even make the G League, or even if you're super, super lucky, make the NBA. And it gets players for chance to play in front of their hometown fans. I know from my experience with sports just in Newfoundland, the first year the Growlers were in Newfoundland, so 2 years ago, Adam Party came back to play for the Growlers. Probably took less money than he could have made overseas to to play for the Growlers. And even a basketball example would be Carl English. Left. He could have went over and played in Europe for years. He's from Newfoundland and went and played in the NBL for 2 years, the National Basketball League of Canada at St. John's, just to play in front of his hometown fans. He said before the first game of the inaugural game, he didn't play high-level basketball in the province of Newfoundland since he was 15, since leaving high school. So it could be a really different thing for players at a younger age. You can go and learn and not have to leave home. Or if you're ending your career, you can play in front of your hometown crowd. You know, if you haven't been home for 10, 15 years, you haven't played high-level basketball in front of your hometown fans, it could be a huge deal. Anyway, let me know. And one of the great things about the league is it has partnerships already with New Balance. They make a lot of their stuff, and I believe they also have Under Armour makes all their uniforms. So you get sponsorship there, and it's a single model ownership. So you don't have to fight with owners. They just have one centralized owner, and then people buy into it, much like MLS. They're looking at Kelowna as a big market. Kelowna is probably the third or fourth biggest city in BC. It's a huge deal for them. Anyway, if you like this video, hit like and subscribe. Thank you for checking out 656 Sports and Things. And you all have a great day. Bye.